Closer to Van de Sant, now currently within only 2 points. For an Audi regular and a multi-time champion, he seems to have figured out the prototypes without much growing pains. Will he be able to keep that up and take over the championship lead? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the Camel GT Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Bobbert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. More known for open-wheelers, this track does offer up a good show when sports cars arrive. Let's take a closer look with our track guide. Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, but most race fans know this place as simply Imola. This circuit in the northern part of Italy has seen some of the highest highs and lowest lows in motorsports history. The various tragedies that have marred the track left no choice but to alter it in the name of safety. While it originally featured mostly fast, sweeping corners, its modern 3-mile or 5-kilometer version is punctuated by tricky chicanes and incredibly technical turns. iRacing includes the Grand Prix layout and a moto version, which adds one more chicane to the front stretch. Tamburello is perhaps the most notorious of the corners for claiming the life of multi-time world champion Ayrton Senna when it was still a single, breathtaking turn. Now the Triple Apex not only offers potential passing opportunities, but catches out drivers quite frequently. While heavy braking zones are everywhere, because few places allow the cars to get up to speed, overtaking is generally seen as an exercise in frustration. As if to almost counteract this quality, the track itself is situated in a gorgeous public park and sends the drivers through the beautifully calming Italian countryside. It also includes a fair bit of elevation change in which the track is split between the higher up back half and the lower first portion. It's no wonder that this place still proves popular with drivers and fans in spite of its difficulties in history. The Tifosi keep returning each and every time the sound of engines roar among the trees, and who can blame them? This place very well known for its chicanes and difficulty for overtaking, Adam, which makes things a little bit interesting for Camel.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. The infamous Imola has not historically been kind to multi-class racing, and the massive lap deltas between the two Camel classes are no exception. This 3-mile or 4.9-kilometer 17-turn track is full of challenging S's, wicked elevation changes, and aggressive curves that keep even the best drivers on their toes. Believe it or not, the Audis will feel the most at home here, with the many short straightaways giving way to a very few sweeping turns, allowing the point-and-shoot nature of the handling of the GTO to really come into the fore here in Italy. The Nissans will simply be trying to survive with a narrow track surface, tight turns, and curbs that'll take the floor off everywhere you look. That being said, they are still much faster than the Audis around this track and will be desperate to not lose track position waiting behind them, so multiclass tends to be quite aggressive here from both classes, as the nature of this track makes Ravazza and Tamburello the main corners to attempt to pass. I feel like I say this every week, Joe, but if you want to have a good time and a good finish here, your focus should be survival, not combat today.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. And for the combat so far, Javier Del Olmo has managed to survive getting good results just about every week. He's now within 2 points, as I mentioned. Alexander Van de Sant is not here today. That said, I believe there is more than 15s or close to 15 GTPs out there. So there is a possibility that Del Olmo could stay in second, but it's most likely that he'll jump up to the points lead. That's assuming that Jason Clapper doesn't finish ahead of him. That would be a bit of a shocker if he winds up at the top, but not completely out of the realm of possibility. Aaron Humphrey hasn't really been seeing as good a results as last time, but again, he keeps showing up week after week, and that's bumped him up into the top 4. GTO's a bit of a different story, though.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different story, but it's not too different, considering Hugo Lescala is only 14 points ahead of Topi Cortiniemi right now. And considering this is round 8, with a couple rounds to go, Topi still has a very good shot at taking on Hugo Lescala. Ian Brassfield, though, he's unfortunately fallen out of form over the last couple of races, dropped down to 38 points back, fairly secure in third position, but no longer battling for that points lead. And then we get into the tight fight. That's for fourth position between Mickey Friesen and Ian Haycock, separated by a point. And then it's only 8 points back to Doug Cloud back there in sixth position. Seamus Power joins Doug Cloud 5 points back, and then Josh Brains only another 8 points back, and then it just keeps going. Michael Yankee, Noah Lundberg, everyone's in it, honestly, for the top 4 over the last couple of sessions.
So these final few races will probably be important, as we are in round 8 out of 12, and it's a 40-minute race as opposed to last time, which we saw the endurance format for this series. Open setups in these cars. Imagine they're going to be trying to put some downforce into them with all the corners around this track. No spare car to save you if you wind up with damage. As we heard from Adam, it's easy to get the damage, not just from the walls, but from the curbs themselves. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and DQ at 25. There's definitely some places where it's going to be easy to rack up those incident points, especially if you miss the chicane just a little bit. So, as
take a starting role.
Yeah, and Trangrade, of course, also hasn't qualified yet. Noel Lundberg, who's looked fast at times. We're still waiting on him on top of things. But first few laps, still seeing a lot of those GTPs still waiting to set a time. Not sure if they started late for a reason. Checking the temperatures. Oh, it is pretty hot on the track. Wonder if they're just looking for maybe something slightly cooler out there, because it's 103 Fahrenheit on the surface.
Yeah, 103 Fahrenheit, 39 Celsius out there for these drivers. It's a real challenge for them to put down some good times right now. But that being said, you're still dealing with cold tires around here. Those old tires take a while to warm up, so the second laps are usually faster, and I would expect that from some of the GTOs who took their first laps to be a little cooler. But Yuko Leskala just completed his first lap and only drops into third behind Brassfield, who seems to be back on form. So interesting for him, for sure. Valenteus, though, still hanging on to that provisional pole position and has yet to complete his second lap.
So Brennan Lim is not going to get his second lap, unfortunately, because it looks like he had something happen. So second at best for him. Valenteus is getting ready to cross the line himself. So apologies. We'll get pictures back here soon, hopefully. The number 1 is coming up to the line now. A 28.134 is going to go down to a 27.7, much faster second lap for Adrius Valenteus. Oh my goodness, he has raised the bar significantly. Topi Kortanimi still your fastest down in the GTOs at a 41.0, with Leskala actually still only in third, but he's getting ready to complete that third lap.
Yeah, Leskala's about to come across the line. We're going to see what that time is. He's currently only 1/5 of a second off of Topi Kortaniemi, or rather, he's actually a 10th off of Topi, but he's going to bump it up to second position and jump Ian Brassfield. Ian Brassfield has completed all of his laps, so he will not improve. But man, Valenteus, Joe, 1 second ahead of the rest of the field in qualifying. That's a terrifying prospect for the rest of the GTP field. Javier Delomo down in 6th position right now.
There's probably a good reason why he's got that number 1 on his car. He seems to be very quick in whatever he hops into. And coming down to the finish line now for Martin Krejcik, his second flying lap. Going to put him in at a 1:29.637. That's marginally faster than what he did before. And in fact, he gets bumped down instead by Hamilton Ruiz, who jumps up to the 8th position. Ove Trangrade still in 4th, has his one final lap left to go.
Absolutely, Ove Trangrade has been quick over the last couple of races, has been duking it out for top 3s, top 5s, and trying to repeat that right now in 4th position. One of the last drivers to set their qualifying times today. 1 minute left on the clock, plenty of time to get it done. Got to come through the final couple of corners here. Real challenge for all the cars involved, but the Audi with the 4-wheel drive, it's a lot easier to get off of that corner with some speed. We can see Ove sliding a little bit through the final corner. He's going to drive it through and cross the line. Is this going to be an improvement for Ove Trangrade? Crosses the line, and it's going to be marginal at best. No, that lap did not count, unfortunately.
So only other driver that can set a time from here is Daniel Oran on his second lap. He's currently 15th out of the 16 GTPs that have signed up. So there's our answer to the question of can we get a 0 for our second place in the points? And yes, but it's extremely unlikely. Oran improves to a 30.3. Let's go through the starting order with Valenteus on the pole by a pretty big margin, and Brendan Lim will be starting next to him. It's Laus Dolson from P3, followed by Timothy Reed in 4th and Aaron Humphrey in 5th position. Javier Del Olmo, our current second in the points, starts from 6th today, as Fabian Jungbluth will be on the inside of the next row, followed by Jack David Spickett. Hamilton Barrera Ruiz will be 9th, and Martin Kraintrick rounds out your top 10. Then you've got Chris Midmark in 11th, followed by Aitor Sintes Galindo. Struggling a bit here today in qualifying, but we haven't seen him around as much. James Barry will start in 13th. Daniel Oran, as I mentioned, jumps to 14th, followed by Thomas Ferrer. And this time it's only Jason Clapper, the one single GTP that did not qualify.
And then we've got our GTOs, Topi Kortaniemi in the lead at the start of the race with Yuko Leskala along his outside. Ian Brassfield qualifies in 3rd behind Topi, with Ove Trengrade lined up behind Leskala in 4th. Then it's Noel Lundberg and Gregorio Buscemi on row 3, Ian Haycox and Mickey Friesen on row 4. Arimas Zelinskas lines up 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is Josh Brain. 11th is going to be Andreas Sliumba, who's going to join us once again. Hideki Koivisto joins him on row 6. Doug Cloud lining up 13th, and Seamus Power in 14th. And all of our Audis did complete their qualifying times. That's 15th for Jamie Hamill-Smith, rounding out 15 Audis and 16 Nissans.
Let's not forget, as we see the temperatures have cooled slightly by about 5 or 6 degrees Fahrenheit, that Valenteus, while he's got that massive margin, we've seen many times over, Adam, that Kamel is less about the raw speed and more about the traffic management. So He doesn't have this completely wrapped up.
No, but the raw speed does give you buffer for when you decide to deal with the traffic. It gives you the opportunity to be a little bit more cautious and to back off a little bit before you dive into a battle with other drivers. When you're feeling pressure from behind, it can be very tempting to just dive into the corner and take away those lines from the Audis, which puts you at risk. But yeah, taking a look at that weather, it has what our temperature was for the qualifying, and then it's a 10-mile-an-hour wind, which should be fairly strong.
All right, so they head down through the Rivazza corners, 2 apexes here around this long double left-hander, and then it dumps you onto the main straight. It'll be flat out all the way to Tamburello from here, as our 4 drivers on to go, and they get slowed up quite a bit by Valenteus. In fact, he's trying to back Lim up significantly and waiting for the green flag. He's holding them a long time on this. And now he is on the gas pedal as he takes off down towards the first corner. Laust Olsen got a good jump over Brendan, and Timothy Reed, last week's winner, starts to charge forward to see what he can do and maybe make it back-to-back wins. He's our current reigning GTP champion, and he's onto the podium as they snake through Tamburello.
In the Audis, Yuko Leskala has a nose ahead of Topi Kortaniemi, trying to take it around the outside of Tamburello this time around, and he's going to get that position from Topi. Yuko Leskala leads as we head into there, but for the first time, but he gets a little bit wide. This is going to open the door to Topi Kortaniemi, who's going to take a look up the inside. A very good move now as they dive through the snake here, and now Yuko Leskala trying to come back at him. This is a good battle for the lead in the Audis early on.
And I doubt Topi wants to give away that lead this early, as round the outside we ride on board with Yuko. Can't get the grip, even with the 4-wheel drive. If Yuko gets ahead, he is hard to catch. So as they now head into Piratella, Topi holds the upper hand. Brassfield in behind. He's been kind of hovering around from time to time. I think he could be a real threat, especially if these two battle too much.
Yeah, absolutely, and I expect those two to stay nose to tail for most of this race. They're not going to want to battle too much early on, but take a look at this. Yuko Leskala taking a look to the chicane. Oh boy, that's a dangerous place to try and make a pass. But Ian Brassfield, oh, look at that. Topi Kortaniemi cuts the corner. That's going to possibly do some damage to the front end, but he's going to have to pay a penalty, and that's going to allow Yuko Leskala to take that lead away.
Topi has to pay this one back at some point, but it's on the first lap, which means it's going to be extra costly. So how many positions will he have to give way? Still hasn't completely given it back. He's checking everybody up. He gets a nudge from behind by Brassfield. That sends him off the course. Eventually, everybody gets around as he has to hold and wait for the field to clear.
That's a weird moment from Topi Kortaniemi. I believe he might have had a missed shift. No, he just was deep onto the brakes. He did have a missed shift in the middle of the sector, actually.
Oh. So
he
hits
the brakes. Yeah, so he might have gotten a little bit loose and then gets pushed off by Brassfield. No intent from Brassfield there, but that does give Yuko a 2-second gap and puts Topi at the flat back of the pack with 5 seconds to Doug Cloud, his nearest competitor.
Laust Olsen up to P2. So he made good on that start, the slow start from Lim, who's actually dropping well back from these top threes. We ride on board with Timothy Reed, who was a lot closer moments ago to Laust, but looks like he had a poor exit out of Aqua Minerale.
Temperature on track is dropping right now, so if any drivers made adjustments because of the high temps, they're probably regretting these at the moment.
Yeah, and for now, I think they're just going to have to manage what they've set up with this stage, because everybody's in the same condition out there. Timothy Reed onto the main straight is not going to get a good enough exit to try and chase Laust Olsen back down, so he falls off slightly. That means now that Ian Brassfield is your second place driver in the GTOs with that problem we've had with Cortinemi. I looked it up. Ian has not had a win yet on the broadcast races in Camel GT.
No, the flying fins have been far too consistent for him to grab that win, and with Yuko out alone in front of the pack, it's going to take a GTP getting into him to cause an issue. Speaking of GTPs causing an issue, Martin Kraytrick is off in the back of the GTP field, dropping from 9th all the way down to 13th, and possibly losing that to Daniel Aran.
Yeah, he missed his brake marker into Tamburello, had to take the shortcut he's back on, but into P13, he's got a lot of work to do now to try and climb back forward, especially with how single file it's already looking. I mean, this went to this condition, and it doesn't look like anybody is really threatening anybody else in the prototypes.
Yeah, that being said, the sun's back out on portions of the course, so we're seeing some fluctuating temperatures. I believe the track temperature is measured from the start-finish line, and we just saw a 2-degree swing in just a couple of seconds, so the potential for drastic track temperature differences is very high this race.
That could make life very, very difficult for the drivers as we come up to Tosa once again, riding on board with Ian Haycox, one of our actually onboard views, and looks like Buscemi sporting the eye patch there up ahead of him with Pirate on there. Not sure what that is about. Do like this little Camel GT logo that we've got Ian adding to his camera, just promoting the series. Sounds like, I guess they've got their own website up for it now too.
Yeah, the website helps you see where the broadcast splits and also the high density splits are going to be in any given week, and so it helps the series organize, and so you can jump on there and see when you can race midweek with these guys if you don't want to jump onto a broadcast race for any given purpose. Jason Clapper, though, our starter from the back of the pack, is around, unfortunately losing all that time, and he goes around again. This is going to cause some issues. Still about 20 seconds back to Ecolesco, so he shouldn't get caught by them, but unfortunately he's going to have to keep working his way forward. Let's see what happened here.
I fear that this is both a bit of netcode and Daniel Aran being involved. That is who he's fighting with on driver's left on the inside of the first apex. Now he actually clears him, but suddenly the car is going to do something weird here. So this is why I think it's a bit of netcode.
Oh no, that's the hitbox of the GTP, Joe. That's unfortunately a known concern, but it's one that is doesn't often come up for these drivers, but unfortunately the hitbox a little bit more steep than the rear wing angle, which can sometimes cause issues like the one we just saw.
Hopefully that'll be corrected once they eventually get the new damage model on these cars, because I'm sure that'll help clear it up a little bit. But Jack David Spickett now, the one we're watching, fighting for 6th position. There is Javier Del Olmo, the likely points leader at the end of this race, but we're just not certain on how it's going to look, because he's holding 6th, and that would put him up to the top spot as it stands right now. But he's got to finish this race first, and he's definitely keeping Jack at least at arm's length.
Yeah, absolutely. Javier just doing what he needs to do to finish this race. The GTPs are about a quarter lap behind the GTOs in terms of when they're going to run into them in traffic. And it looks like Jason Clapper is actually taking a tow, unfortunately, so that's likely to be the end of his race. But we do have some good battles going on in the GTOs. Ian Haycox has been repassed by Mickey Friesen. He made a pass on Friesen on the uphill U-turn, the uphill 90, but it looks like he's now gotten repassed by Friesen and is starting to fall under threat from Adrius Sliemba.
I was able to watch, and Clapper actually did manage to drive it back in, but yeah, he's been sitting there for a bit now. So regardless, the result is the same. He's having to sit and wait patiently if he wants to return to the track. It's pretty single file as well here in the GTOs. Haven't seen a whole lot of action, but clearly, as Mickey has pointed out, you can manage to make the overtakes if you set them up right, or I guess from what we've seen, if you miss a shift.
Yeah, that can happen. It's a challenge for the drivers behind because they're all trying to be as aggressive as they possibly can to try and keep within draft distance of the cars ahead. But this draft train for the GTOs is fairly normal, fairly standard affair here at Imola. I don't think it's any of these drivers trying to not be aggressive or anything. It's just hard to make a pass around this track.
I think that's something most of these drivers knew coming in was going to be the case, and I can confirm that Clapper has actually determined that damage is too much. He has exited the race, and here's our first retirement, sadly. So he's certainly not going to be able to pull one over on Del Olmo that way. Aaron Humphrey, the next one down behind him in the points, is actually one spot ahead of Del Olmo at this stage, as Ian Haycox is dealing with Sliumba, really laying on the pressure now. He's within about a quarter of a second, but it's proving so tough to pass that he's just going to have to wait patient. And let's not forget about Seamus Power as well. He's starting to creep up on the back of them too.
Absolutely. Here's Ove Trangrade putting some pressure onto Brassfield as well. Trangrade has looked the quicker of the two over the course of the beginning of this race, but it seems like you're close enough when you come off of that final corner. But the draft, you really have to be within a quarter of a second in order to get alongside for the braking zone into the first turn. So it's a real challenge to try and make a pass there. We just saw Remus Zelinskas make a pass on Buscemi, and it looks like Ian Haycox has lost a position to Sliumba in the background as well.
Yeah, it was a good draft from Zelinskas to get himself by, but I didn't see what caused it between Haycox and Sliumba as we continue to watch this battle for the second place. It's getting pretty exciting there in the mid-pack behind them, I have to say. There's been a lot of action and a number of mistakes, while these two seem almost glued lockstep nose to bumper.
Yeah, absolutely. The mid-pack down in 7th position, those drivers are starting to get a little bit feisty, a little frisky, and our leaders in the GTP starting to come through the GTOs as well. That's going to start to separate these battles.
Especially when they get to this train of GTO cars that are fighting. They're going to have to kind of tiptoe and make sure that they don't trip over them. There's not many long straights at this track to try and utilize the extra power underneath that GTP. And already I can tell you that the leader is having to be very careful on his way past all those GTO cars, as Valenteus has overtaken maybe about half a dozen already.
Absolutely, and he's about to come up to the back of this battle that we are watching on screen with Mickey Friesen trying to hold off Slium, but Haycox, Power, and Brain. Timothy Reed's also cutting his way through as well. You'll just see the leader in the GTPs right there behind that red GTO of Josh Brain, so this is going to start to get interesting.
And heard an apology from Ian. I wonder if he missed a shift or something, because they've kind of spread apart. You can see our GTP leader approaching. He's going to get about halfway through, and then he'll get at least a little break. As Zelinskas still battling with Buscemi, but Buscemi now is the one that missed his shift. And look at the stack up that caused. Somehow Audrius had timed that one perfect that he didn't get caught up.
There are a lot of missed shifts today, and I know that there hasn't been a build update between last week and this week, but it's happening a lot right now. Timothy Reed actually gets doored by Seamus Power, our second place driver in the GTP, trying to cut his way through the pack right now.
This could be a great chance for Timothy if he's aggressive but clean through this pack, but it looks like he wasn't able to do at least one half of the equation. As he now passes, we ride on board with Laust Olsen, braking for Piratelli. He gets sandwiched between Friesen and Haycox before he can finally get by.
Yeah, these GTPs trying to cut their way through. As you can see, Laust Olsen not too far behind Timothy Reed because of all this traffic. He was a good 2 seconds back before the traffic, and now trying to cut his way through. It's drawn him in, so Laust doing a good job with the traffic today. Just needs to be gentle, calm, and patient, not try and get too aggressive on these exits, and possibly fall afoul of some of these GTOs. You can see him cut through there, still on the back of Timothy.
Also behind them, the GTPs starting to see maybe some ramifications in the championship battle heating up, because Del Olmo is catching up to Humphrey. So Humphrey is going to want to have to fight him if he has any hope of catching up to him. It might not be a lot of points, but it will be worth something. Brennan Lim diving out to the side, and Aaron is going to follow him.
And here is the traffic jam. This is where all of the risk comes into play. This first braking zone into the first turn with the GTOs and the GTPs. Very different performance into this turn. The GTPs can carry speed, the GTOs cannot. So the GTPs have to be very careful through here. Looks like everyone's being fairly measured and letting everyone cut through. Good work from everyone so far to keep it clean.
And impressive stuff from Del Olmo, who managed to overtake a number of cars to get him right to the back. Oh no, he gets spun around! Del Olmo gets sent off the track. He's going to have to get it turned around, does not hit the wall, but now he's got to re-overtake a bunch of cars, and he puts himself right in the way, unfortunately, of Hamill Smith.
But he knew what he needed to do. He needed to get ahead of Thomas Fieri, so he's done that, but at the risk of probably some consternation. Fortunately, didn't cause a wreck, but that was not the safest rejoin I've seen.
No, and I have a feeling there's still plenty of race yet to come here today. So, oh, and Seamus Power is off. That's him right there on the exit of Piratella. Not sure how he got there. I wonder if there was some help.
Yeah, he misread the situation, didn't realize that Martin Krajcik was on his inside when he was rejoining after a wide moment here. He goes wide and then rejoins and just comes across onto Krajcik, who's holding his line on the inside. Major damage to Krajcik and major damage to Seamus after he hits the outside wall here.
Oh, yeah, that's a monster hit into the tire barrier, unfortunately. So I'm not sure how good that car is going to be after that little run-in with the wall. Jack David Spickett, who is now promoted up to 6, finds himself under threat from Aitor Sintez Galindo. I didn't think that qualifying looked accurate for Aitor, and he's going to try and prove me correct as he goes for the move, sending it deep down into Tamburello, and he gets by up into P6.
Yeah, JDS looked very slow on the straightaway. Something tells me that he likely has some under tray damage due to probably a curb strike, but they're right on the back of Aaron Humphrey as well, P5. Sintez Galindo and Jack David Spickett.
Well, the problems for Del Olmo is definitely going to help Humphrey here, but Aitor Sintez Galindo going to see if he can maybe cost him a few of those points that he so valuably needs at this stage. Humphrey, another one that I think is still looking for his first win here in the Camel GT broadcast races as we head into Aqua Minerale. He's been doing a great job holding off and defending up to this point. Maybe he needs to be on the attack some with Brendan Lim not that far ahead of him.
Yeah, Aqua Mineral is where the speed difference between the Audis and the Nissans is the greatest when it comes to going through the center of a turn. The GTPs can carry a decent amount of speed through there with their massive downforce. The Audis basically come to a stop through that corner, and so when you're on a GTP and you're not used to how slow the GTOs go through there, it could really catch you by surprise.
I know we haven't talked about the GTOs as much recently, but I did notice that Courtney just went by Ian Haycock's. His recovery has got him back to 9th. He's made up a number of positions, but it's a long, long ways from Yuko Leskala, sadly. So doubtful that he can challenge for the win, although Leskala still has Brassfield within about a second.
Yeah, the Nissans have not been kind to the Audis when it comes to coming through traffic. Andreas Sliumba looks like he's coming into the pits, one of our GTOs, so that's a little bit of a surprise. This is not an endurance format for the drivers. Well,
it's a black and orange flag. I'm trying to see if he had a big hit somewhere and not seeing anything right now. So somewhere along the line, he got some damage, and now he must take repairs because his car is considered unsafe.
So unfortunate for him, he's going to drop out of the battle for 10th position and drop back down to the back of the field to repair that damage. That's going to separate a couple of our battles. Taking a look at 7th position Topi Kortaniemi, he's climbed his way forward, just able to get past Mickey Friesen just recently, and now trying to make his way towards Gregorio Buscemi. But as we were saying, Joe, Yugo Leskala only 1.3 seconds ahead of Brassfield. That's within the draft range, and that's all due to the Nissan traffic. But the last of that Nissan traffic is about to go through with 12th place Daniel Aran through Martin Krajcik about to cut through the field.
Yeah, typically, if we see anything less than 3 seconds to Leskala, it means someone's really keeping up good pace with him. So I'd say that Brassfield is holding his own, at least for now. But watching behind them up through the Alta chicane, Buscemi under threat from Topi Kortaniemi. And for how long? There is our top 3 Leskala, Brassfield, and Ove Trangarade.
Yeah, Traeger is doing his best to try and hang on to the back of Brassfield, but the GTP traffic has separated what once was 2/10 out to a second. Trangrade, I'm sure, can close that, and especially now that all of the GTPs have gone through, it's free sailing for all of these GTO drivers now.
Into the braking of Tamburello. You can see how close they try to get themselves up to those curbs. And also, I think this close to the ground view really shows you how tall they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see just how rough they are on the car, too. You can see just the bumps that they go over there. And just lots of jostling that happens when you go over these curves. And you think it's bad in the Audi, but the Audi's built more for it. The GTPs, very stiff suspensions, lots of ground effect. Those cars really suffer when you hit those curves super hard. And, in the sim, we don't have to worry as much about minor parts breaking, but you can still get floor damage around here, as we see Jack David Spickett, JDS, taking a huge amount of curb on that inside.
And I think Buscemi is our latest victim to the gearbox of the Audi. He got a hit from behind by Cortinemi. Neither of them spun, thankfully, but there's definitely a couple little punches to the rear bumper of that number 29 by the 2 car. Spickett, oof, big snap there from, Spickett's coming in.
What is going on with this race, Joe? It seems like we've just been getting curveball after curveball.
Trying to see, there's no...
Buscemi's around again.
He's made got contact with flag.
Mickey Friesen. I mean, I think he's reached the incident limit, Joe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what that is. He came across Mickey Friesen. He was defensive down to the inside, and then did not know that there was a car there. It sent him into the wall. He's got a smoking engine. That's pretty much it for him.
Yeah, that's a challenging one. I'm not sure what was getting into his head as far as like just the lack of awareness to see the other car on the inside. Probably just a little flustered, quite frankly, with his battle with Topi, with the missed shifts and a little bit of contact. It was a good battle between the two of them, but unfortunately just did not see the other car on the inside there.
And Jack has retired the car, so Spickett is out too. They're starting to drop like flies. Unfortunately, Friesen also with the meatball flag, so he is in pit lane having to take repairs if he even wants to try and get back out there. And it's starting to look a little bit more crazy as things get into the thick of the race. We're at the halfway mark now.
Absolutely, some decent battles still on track. Ove Trangarade has been able to close that gap a little bit to Ian Brassfield, but also a good battle for 5th position in the GTPs between Aaron Humphrey and Aitor Sintes Galindo. We're taking a look at that one now. Sintes Galindo with a lot more straight line speed than Humphrey. Humphrey's going to go to the outside. This should be a pretty easy pass for Aitor on the brakes. There it is. And as long as he keeps traction exiting the corner, he's got the job done. And Humphrey slides back to 6th, Aitor up to 5th.
Up towards Villeneuve now. Aitor sees Brennan Lim up ahead of him. He knows his work is not done. He could maybe snatch another one up here before this is over. Kind of surprised with the speed that Lim showed in qualifying that he hasn't really been able to do much here in the race. Ever since he lost that 2nd place, he's fallen off of Reed and Olsen quite quickly.
Yeah, his qualifying was good, but I mean, we're still at 103 track temperature. It's fluctuated significantly. We've had about, hold on a minute. Ove Trangrade's made the pass on Brassfield, and this seemed quite sudden.
Checking to see.
Brassfield let him go.
Interesting. I wonder if Brassfield had a bit of a slowdown penalty or something, and he was waiting a long time to serve it. Because, yeah, he literally pulls off to the side and brakes early.
I don't see where he would have picked up that penalty, Joe. It doesn't look like he cut the inside of the final turn too drastically. That's a very interesting moment for sure.
Oh, we've got some unfortunate news. Jack David Spickett was not feeling well, so that's why he dropped out of the race. I wondered because I couldn't see any damage there. We're going to go back live now to this battle. So our well wishes sent to Jack. Hope that you feel better soon. Never a good thing that you have to miss racing due to health.
Yeah, and as far as I'm aware, Jack David Spickett may be a VR driver, and VR can be a beast sometimes depending on the setup that's going on, what's going on with your computer, if Windows decides to take an update. it can really throw a wrench into your performance, which can make you feel very sick very quickly. And when that happens, there's no coming back. You can't recover. You have to get out from under the hood.
Really unfortunate. So he's the latest retiree now. We've lost Clapper, Friesen, Buscemi, and Spickett. Sliumba is back out on track after he took his repairs, but he's last on the field of GTOs. Actually, he's just ahead of this group that we're watching right now, Ove Traingrade and Brassfield. Now about 2.5 seconds off of Leskala when they made that position swap.
Yeah, and the chaotic first run-through of the GTPs through the GTOs. Not so chaotic this time. Valdehus is already up through Ian Haycox, in 7th position, and has had really no issues navigating through the field. You've got 11.5 seconds over Timothy Reed at the moment. Here we see Laust Olsen still trying to catch up to Timothy Reed. They've got some GTOs separating them, but at this point, it's all about timing your runs and trying to avoid this exact scenario where you end up exiting a corner right behind the GTOs, because the through the center of the corner speed is relatively the same between the GTOs and GTPs in most places, but it's corner exit on those medium speed corners where those GTPs really take off.
You know, we've got an interesting comparison with Cortinemi and Del Olmo. Topi and Javier both fell to the back of the pack in their fields, and Topi's climbed up to 6th, but Del Olmo's still in 12th and just hasn't shown himself to be able to get much out of this. He is approaching Iran, who he was fighting with earlier, but Daniel is also much farther down than where they were battling for position before. So interesting. Or excuse me, no, it wasn't Iran. It was Clapper that was fighting Iran. I apologize. I was remembering the wrong car.
Yeah, but it's important to remember, Joe, that Javier's spin happened a little bit later than what happened to Topi Cortinemi. So the accordion effect, the stretching of the accordion over the course of the race, is probably part of what's affecting Javier Del Olmo. But also, quite frankly, his speed is just about matching the ones of the drivers up ahead of him. So no real effect there. Topi Cortinemi making his way, or trying to make his way around Arimas Zelinskas right now. And he's going to be able to do it, but that was some tense moments through the first couple of corners.
If there's a word I could use for Topi today, it's diligent. Those passes have been hard fought. People haven't seemed to really give them up as easily. And yet, one by one, he's picking them up and he's putting them down as he goes by the 23 car. And something's happened to Lim.
Yeah, if we stay, Brendan Lim just got sent by Aitor Sanchez Galindo. Seamus Power cut across the path of the GTPs into the braking for one. And Lim hit the brakes, and Sanchez Galindo didn't realize what was happening. Let's see it again. Yeah,
I was going to say, I think this was Lim maybe just a little unsighted. Or excuse me, not unsighted, but Sanchez Galindo unsighted. There you can see the punt really shoots him off. Thankfully doesn't hit the wall, and he'll get back going, but Lim now falls down to 10th.
It's been an interesting race, just interesting moments here. We've had a couple of drivers, a driver fall ill, some contacts, lots of missed shifts from the Audis. It seems like people are a little off their game today.
It's a dramatic race, that's for sure. Some happenings that are rather unusual and some that we're used to. Aitor, I think, given a quick apology over the radio from what I heard there. He's up to 4th. Massive improvements. In fact, Aitor and Brendan are kind of on opposite ends of the coin here, where Aitor has climbed up 8 spots. Lim is down 9.
Yeah, and Lim was just trying to get to the inside of Seamus Power. Seamus drifted across to get a better braking point for one. I think Lim didn't expect Seamus Power to be drifting that far across and hitting the brakes when he did. And I don't think Aitor expected anyone to be there. I think he was planning on probably staying in line with Lim through the corner, but yeah, just completely unsighted.
And that gives one more for Javier Del Olmo to hope to try and overtake, since it sends Brendan Lim down into his clutches. Checking out the number 19 in the meantime and seeing what kind of race he's having. Josh Brain right behind Ian Haycox is Sanchez Galindo. Is going to get the better run. He'll get 1. Will he get 2, though?
Sanchez Galindo is going to get 2. Going to be able to get through Ian Haycox there, but that's going to hold up Humphrey, who's trying to catch up to the back of Sanchez Galindo. Can't do so this time around. But it gets held up by Ian Haycock, so that's going to put Fabian Jungbluth towards the back. Seamus Power has decided to come to the pits after that moment that we just saw. Ian Haycock's diving out of the way of Sintez Galindo and Humphrey and Jungbluth, as Jungbluth putting pressure on Humphrey now because of the traffic.
Yeah, we might want to get a replay of Del Olmo, Lim, and Power, because that was certainly an odd one between the three of them. And it does appear that Javier Delmo didn't quite appreciate it, because I think he gave a sarcastic thanks after their little contact. We'll see if we can pull that up in a little bit. Coming off the corner. Oof. And yeah, look at how quickly things happen side by side now. It's going to be a battle between Brain and Cloud, but Brain gets the better run.
Yeah, absolutely. Brain is going to, man, lots of drivers are not happy today. Take a look at this as Josh Brain comes on the radio talking to Doug Cloud about the aggressiveness of the rest of the field. And look at them, still side by side. Doug's going to try and sweep around the outside. Brain's going to fall in line behind them. Here is Humphrey trying to hold off Fabian. Fabian's got a really good run, and that's Humphrey held up off the apex. Let's see whether or not Fabian can do anything with it. There's no room.
Just covers the inside, Humphrey, making sure that the door is not open. They got to watch out for Ruiz. He's also close, along with Chris Midmark. Haven't been talking about Chris much. In fact, I don't know that we've seen him in this series before, but he's got a top 10 currently. He's up 3 from where he started. Honestly, with how hectic this series can be, that's a win in my book.
And Doug Cloud's gone around in the GTO. In fact, on his lid, so he's going to be taking a tow back to the pits, and this came from contact from 2 GTPs. This one is going to be a little bit more contentious. Yes.
Again, he's tried to split the gap, and it just was not there, and that chucked the car into the wall. Once it hit,
my goodness.
Massive hit, and then he was stuck. Interestingly, Del Olmo is still behind Lim even after that move. Javier's up to 12th, though, at this stage with the couple of retirements that we have seen. Up in front of them, battle between Barry and Iran. This is for 9th.
Absolutely. Iran just made it past Barry through the final corner. Is Barry going to try and make the move around the outside? He's going to take a look at it, but Topi Cortinini is going to be right on the apex. Barry wanted to go a little bit more towards the apex there, but Daniel Iran was there. All the drivers playing it safe, hitting the brakes a little bit harder than they probably wanted to. That's going to allow both of them to sneak by Topi. Topi up to 5th now with all the chaos that we've seen. And honestly, Joe, he's only 15 seconds off of the lead. Granted, we only got 10 minutes left in this race to go. Barry trying to make the move around the outside. Here is Brassfield in 3rd position. He's now tucked in behind Ove Trangrade. Trangrade has been able to close the gap to Leskola down to 1.3 seconds.
Yeah, I suspect all those 15 seconds mostly came from that opening incident, and he's been keeping pace ever since, even with the traffic. Aitor Sintez Galindo going to get around both of them, along with Mickey Friesen back out on track, trying to rack the laps up, but it looks like he just pulled over, and I think he is retiring the car after he thought that they were done briefly. Brassfield still following down the hill towards Ravazza. Less than 10 minutes to go.
Leskola getting majorly held up by Aitor Sintez Galindo behind Andreas Sliumba. Sliumba slow through the corner, held up Leskola. That's going to bring Ove Trangrade another 0.2 closer to Leskola. And we've got Aaron Humphrey who's going to be trying to go by everybody. We've got Fabian Jungbluth chasing down Aaron Humphrey. They're going to be ones who are going to put a little bit of pressure onto Leskola through turn 1 here.
Leskola makes the move on the lap traffic. Andreas tries his best to stay out of the way. Look at the traffic jam behind him, though. Humphrey has to stay patient. He knows that Jungbluth has no place around yet.
Sorry, Brassfield made contact with Chris Midmark, unfortunately. That's going to put him out of contention with Ove Trangrade. Look at this, though. Jungbluth trying to snake his way through behind Aaron Humphrey. He's going to be able to hang on to that, but my goodness, it's chaos right now.
And Lumberg even got by Brassfield on top of things at the last moment. Thought that maybe he'd be able to hold on to that 3rd spot, but Noel was waiting in the wings, and there he is now.
Yeah, bad luck for Brassfield, just falling back now of Trangrade back into 4th position behind Lundberg. He's going to be putting on pressure on Lundberg to try and get that position back. Trangrade has somehow managed to stay within 1.5 seconds of Leskola, but unfortunately he's got Sliumba. Oh, and Trangrade makes a mistake now too, so that's going to bring Brassfield closer to him and bring Leskola farther away. Ian Brassfield, though, trying to make his way through. They've got lap traffic behind them as well. That's going to be Brendan Lim, who's actually going to be sneaking by.
So Lim, who's in his fight with Del Olmo, has lost out finally. And Martin Krajcik now quickly approaches on the back of him. They both have the cars of Ian Brassfield and Noel Loomberg, who are in their own little tussle. Things getting tight as we jump up to James Barry. And Loomberg missed a shift. Loomberg is now the one slow. He loses the spot right back to Ian.
Yeah, he missed that shift actually in the middle of the two corners towards the end of the lap, so it's taken him a while to try and get back up there.
I was afraid he'd be shoved off, but no, it was his own self doing the mistakes that time around. The Benelux driver, unfortunately, back off the podium, still within a shout if he can re-overtake Ian Brassfield in the next 7 minutes.
It's just the tail of the tape today has just been mistakes, Joe. Just misjudgments and mechanicals, and just lots of drivers really struggling to race this track cleanly, and it's really making wrenches in their plans and their battles. Jungbluth with a nice slide there through the bottom of the corner, but it's just been a challenge for all these drivers to race through there cleanly, and all the while Andres Valenius pulls 15 seconds on Timothy Reed. Yeah,
we said it wasn't just about speed, but it looks like Andreas has both, honestly. He's got the speed and the traffic management as we ride with the Jungbluth on Humphrey. This is about 3.5 seconds behind Aitor Sintes Galindo. Maybe other than Valenteus, this is one of the other cars that hasn't been making those same mistakes that everybody else has, because Aitor is up 8 spots. Laust Olsen not doing too bad. He's got a podium in his hands if he sticks with it. And then Timothy Reed, perhaps a quiet second place today, not looking like a back-to-back wins for him.
Yeah, Laust was within a second of Timothy Reed, but unfortunately the traffic putting halt to that idea of trying to get past Timothy. There you can see 2 battles in one shot. We have Fabian Jungbluth trying to battle with Aaron Humphrey for 5th, and then Chris Midmark still hanging on to the back of Hamilton Barrera Ruiz for 7th.
Out of Tosa and up the hill once again. Ruiz just ahead of this pair, going side by side. Aran goes defensive. Barry has to slot back in behind him through the apex, but it's about the better exit up the hill sometimes here towards Piratella. Barry's close, but he doesn't have the overlap. So they head towards Aqua Minerale now, looking for any sort of weakness and opportunity to maybe make a pounce. James just isn't seeing any forthcoming. Aran doing a good job making sure to both play defense and not allow him the inroads that he needs. And coming off the corner, that looked much better for Chris.
Yeah, just a little bit of over-rotation through the first of the chicanes means that you can't rotate fast enough around the second one to regain that time. So Barry has to now try and fight back those 2/10 that he just lost to that corner.
I meant better for Daniel. Chris Midmark, the one in front of them, actually. So back up to the battle for P5. Aaron Humphrey over Fabian Jungbluth. Fabian just making sure to remind that number 7 that he's in those mirrors, ready to pounce. If he has one little misstep, he gives a decently wide berth to that inside apex curb and then tries to chop off the exit, diamond off the exit of Tosa to get himself a run up the hill. And it will keep Fabian Jungbluth far enough behind, at least this time.
4 minutes ago, I believe we're coming to 3 to go for our leader, Andres Valentejus, who crosses the line now. And here we go, the battle for 4th position, very tight. Lundberg losing that 3rd position, rather staying behind Brassfield. That was close, though, between the two of them.
Now, I know this is a long shot, but watch in the background here. Nope, not there he is. That's Topi Kortaniemi. And we know he's got speed. And if they start battling, could he have a chance to get onto the podium?
Oh, absolutely. Brassfield and Lundberg probably look back there, look at their relatives, and they're seeing 5 seconds, and they're thinking we're free to fight. Topi's fast, though. And even though he's got front-end damage, he's very quick in a straight line. We're going to get our leader, Andres Valentejus, going through these guys just in a moment. But after he goes through, it's 18 seconds back to Timothy Reed. That's probably about a lap and a half, 2 laps until the next GTP comes through. So that's going to give these guys an opportunity to battle should they choose to. So Lundberg has to get close enough, but you saw how close it was through turn 1. And so I think that Lundberg was going to want to take this fight to Brassfield, and that might bring Topi in.
And they got held up slightly down through Aquamino Raleigh, too, so that slowed them up enough that Cortinemi's now down to about 5.2 seconds behind them. This time by, I think you're right, going to be the 2-to-go marker for Valenteus, and by extension for Brassfield, Lundberg, and Cortinemi, who are not that far behind our leader that just went through. Crossing the line with the 2-to-go signal in the air, and a 15-second lead over Timothy Reed. Adrius has been taking no prisoners today.
Yeah, and Yuko Leskala has extended the gap over Trancrade to 3.7. So Leskala turning on the wick here towards the end of the race, trying to make sure that Ove Trancrade doesn't get any crazy ideas. Here we see the battle of Jungbluth and Humphrey. Jungbluth has been looking like he's very tight on exit for most of these corners now. So while he may be quick in that straight line, his corner exits have been suffering a little bit. But if he gets a good exit here, and he does get a decent exit, he might have an opportunity into 1, but they've got traffic up ahead.
He's going to have a bit of the slipstream, and it is pulling him in, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. It'll be close. He'll have to be aggressive into the brake zone. As they approach it, he'll look down to the inside. He gets his nose in first. Can he keep it out of the side of his rival? He does. Humphrey fights back, and Jungbluth is not going to be able to take it quite yet. He gets another good run coming off of Tamburello, and it's tricky to try and pass down into Villeneuve. He knows it. He has to back out.
And now they get held up behind Hideki Koivisto. Humphrey's going to take to the inside as Hideki Koivisto takes the outside for his normal line. Humphrey usually gets a better exit off of this corner, and he does again. So no opportunity for Jungbluth for the remainder, likely for the remainder of this lap, unless Humphrey makes a mistake.
Still got chances, but they're drying up fast. And there is our leader taking the white flag. Valenteus now has one more lap to go to get himself another win in the Camel GT series, and he sets the fastest lap of the race there that last time by.
Take a look at this. This is Timothy Reed sneaking his way through in between a side-by-side Ian Brassfield and Lundberg. Lundberg has gotten to that position 4.2 seconds back to Topi Cortinemi, but these guys stay side-by-side for a couple of corners. That's going to disappear, and they are going to go side-by-side through turn 1. Brassfield trying to carry more speed through Lundberg over the curves, but still going to be side-by-side as they exit and sweep through the next left-hander.
Around the outside, Brassfield doesn't have the same grip that Lundberg does, but it still shows a little bit of overlap between them. Braking hard down into Villeneuve. He comes back at him. Brassfield can't pinch off the corner as well as Lundberg. So Noel back up into P3.
Absolutely. So Lundberg has gained that position back. That's closed down the gap by about a second and a half for Topi, down to 2.7. Still not quite close enough just yet.
Going to be difficult to do anything from here on out, though. Ravazza, perhaps the only other opportunity to make a hard pass, unless he gets a good run up to Alta. Over to our leader, Valenteus, took the pole. He had a monster gap even in the qualifying, and he's got a monster gap in the race itself as he wins in Italy.
Yuko Leskala just coming through the final corners now has still got a 4.3 second gap over Ove Trangarade. Here's Laust Olsen as well in second position in the GTPs, just behind Yuko. Looks like he might be running a little low on fuel as Laust, but Yuko Leskala has taken away the pole position, took it away from Topi Cortinemi and came home with the win today on the race itself.
Lundberg will get himself a podium in behind. Excellent work by the number 6. And Cortinemi wound up a second and a half off of Brassfield. He was mighty close to doing it. I think one more lap, and we would have seen a fight for a podium spot. Reed did get second, and Olsen a well-earned third. Poor Laust Olsen has been needing some good results. Here we go. We got a battle between Iran and Barry down into Ravazza. A beautiful cutback from Iran.
But here comes Barry with the head of steam. He's going to look around the outside. Does he have enough time? Iran's going to try and drive him wide. It's going to be to the line, and it's going to be Barry who takes it away.
Wow. That one was 13 thousandths of a second apart from one another at the line. fantastic respect between them right at the end. That's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Imola. Round 8 in the Camel GT series sees Audrius Valenteus take the win with a pretty wide margin over the rest of the field, almost 20 seconds by the end of the race. Timothy Reed followed him home in P2 with Laust Olsen, getting himself somewhat of a quiet third place. Heitor Sintes Galindo had to push his way from the very back there into fourth, as Aaron Humphrey fought hard with a couple different cars throughout the race to get fifth. Fabian Jungbluth was sixth behind him, and Hamilton Barrera Ruiz was seventh. Chris Midmark wound up taking eighth. James Barry barely eked over Aaron Aran there, ninth and 10th, with just a few thousandths between them, as Javier Del Olmo finished in 11th and Brendan Lim finished 12th. Martin Krajcik was 13th today. Thomas Ferreira was 14th. Jack David Spickett and Jason Clapper, sadly, were DNFs in the GTPs.
Yuka Leskala took the lead away from Topi Kortinimi and never looked back, winning the race by 4.5 seconds. Ove Trangarade got close a couple of times to Yuka Leskala, but couldn't quite get close enough to battle with him. Came home in second position. Noah Lundberg finishing in third after passing Ian Brassfield, after Brassfield had his own moment of mistake early on, battling on with Hove Trangrade. Brassfield finishing in the 4th spot. Toby Kortanami got taken out early, but then climbed his way all the way back into 5th position to reduce the points lost to Koleskala. Arimas Solinskas had his own moment and finishes 6th position, just ahead of Ian Haycox, who's in a constant battle with the rest of the drivers on this list. Josh Brain, Hideki Koivisto, Jamie Hamill-Smith, Andreas Sliumba, and Doug Cloud. Doug Cloud having a punt as well as Seamus Power ending up in the pits. Mickey Friesen and Gregorio Buscemi did not finish.
It looks like we've got third from the prototypes ready to talk to us. Laust Olsen needing a good result for once. And Laust, I have to say, our view of you looked like it was relatively quiet compared to everyone else because, as Adam put it during the break, most of the other drivers appeared almost pinata-like.
Yeah, it was quite calm in most of the race. Yeah, Tim he had a little more speed than me, and once he passed, yeah, I tried to stay with him, but during the traffic he slowly pulled away, and I think he was also generally a little faster than me. So I was just enjoying myself in 3rd place and trying to make sure I came through, didn't make any stupid mistakes.
Well, and you managed to actually get into P2 right into the first corner. Was that a relief to get clear of some of the chaos that tends to happen into that chicane?
Yeah, that was I was really trying to achieve that, and was pretty happy to be able to do it. Yeah, and hats off to Brendan. That was a great qualifying lap he put in there. So, but I hoped that I would be a little faster than him in race pace, and didn't want to be stuck behind him. So it was quite important for my race that I managed to get around in the start. And luckily for me, it worked out.
It did indeed. Well, congratulations on a podium here today. Again, glad to see you finally get a much needed result.
Thanks.
So that was our 3rd place finisher in the prototypes, along with we've got our 4th place finisher in the GTPs. It looks like Adam has caught up with Aitor.
Yeah, Aitor, qualifying wasn't exactly what you hoped it would be, but you fought your way back in the race from 12th all the way up to 4th position. And this one was chaos, Aitor. How'd you do it?
Well, yeah, I'm glad to have such a good race, but yeah, starting my career in Camel, I always do poor qualifying, and I climb up to the top 5 and sometimes even podiums. Basically, I thought today, well, I'm bored. Let's go and have some fun in Camel and fun ahead. Yeah, yeah, I'm happy with the result before, although I'm not happy with the way I got the P4 in the end because really sorry, Brendan, if you are here listening. I really try my best not to punch you, but I didn't. Well, couldn't avoid you.
Yeah, it seemed like traffic was causing a lot of checkups and a lot of challenges for many of the drivers in both classes. How was it out there for you today?
Um, Well, since it was split today, well, it was top split. It wasn't bad so today. It had a couple of moments with Audi's in the Tamburello and everything, but well, it's the sort of thing that happens in tracks with chicanes that you have to just hold. But no, not very. I was surprised, and I was like a slap 7, and when I was like, hold on, aren't the Audis coming or what? And it was like, no, it's a lap 8 and everything. It was like, oh, okay, gotcha. But yeah, it wasn't so bad with the traffic today, especially because I came from a track like Sonoma or back in the days we had the line drop pass every point. So yeah, compared to this, it's a walk in the park. I tell you.
Well, Aitor, it wasn't a podium, but a good recovery from the qualifying and a great race for you today. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys are also with for the amazing broadcasts, Camel community, family, friends are watching. And yeah, hopefully see you guys next week or the next one. So yeah, thank you everybody.
That was Aitor Santos Galindo, P4 in the GTPs, and over to another P4 in the GTOs. Joe has Ian Brassfield.
Indeed. The one mystery we want to clear up, Ian. At one point, you let Ove Trangerade pass you down into the first chicane. Was there a slowdown penalty? We couldn't figure out what went on.
Yes, unfortunately, I had a couple slowdowns in the race.
Well, that kind of solves it for us then in that case. We couldn't figure out where that one came from exactly. Regardless, you wound up fighting with Lundberg in the end instead for just trying to stay on the podium, which didn't quite work out. Do you aim for stuff like that? Because this would have been number 5 if you had managed to be one position higher.
Yes, of course, I always want to grab a podium. Top 5, though, I'll take it where I can get it. And as you were saying, the slowdowns that have really cost us. Obviously, first lap of the race, Topi and his unfortunate incident. We already had our back and forth sorry circle. And it turns out that he had ended up taking a little bit of a shortcut through the chicane at the top of the hill. And he was trying to bleed off the slowdown penalty. I unfortunately didn't take that into account and ran into the back of him. So, of course, sorry, Topi.
Sorry about that. It's understandable. I will say though, you've been hanging around a lot of those fast drivers for quite some time, and it's looking like maybe it's a matter of just being in the right place at the right time. Do you think you're going to crack the nut of finally taking a victory soon?
I was really feeling it. As unfortunate as the first lap was, I started really feeling it towards the middle section of the race. Being able to actually, finally see Yuko for more than half the race was a fun little thing. But from there, it kind of went a little bit downhill. But in the end, last great couple laps with Lundberg and the great race at the end.
Well, regardless, it was a great race. We enjoyed watching you battling out there, and congratulations on a top 5.
Thank you.
It's Ian Brassfield, who finished P4 in the GTOs, which is going to wrap us up with a big thank you, of course, to the Camel GT series for bringing us another season of coverage. And also thanks to the team today, Adam, Rob, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next week, we are going to be going to Jerez. That'll be Saturday, November 11th at noon Eastern. But be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here. And until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.